What's going on, everybody? Hope everybody's having a great Memorial Day weekend. You're listening to and watching another episode of the Bodacious Rant with Burn and Rye. The weather's been all over the place, unfortunately, for this Memorial Day weekend. But I will say this: the box office is quite consistent the last few months. Yes, it is. It's actually, I'm kind of glad that the movie theaters are kind of back in full swing now. So I think that's because even though there are people that frustrate me in the movie theater with the stupid phones and the talking and the walking and the running around and all the tomfoolery, I can't stand it. But you know what? I'm not here to vent about that. What I am here to rant about, or myself and Bernie here rant about, is the newest edition of the Disney live-action remakes. You guessed it, The Little Mermaid, starring Halle Bailey, Melissa McCarthy, Daveed Diggs, Awkwafina, Jonah Hauer-King, who I've never heard of until this movie, and of course, Javier Bardem. So, it was a pretty stacked cast. I didn't really realize until I saw the movie. But just a reminder, this is a non-spoiler review, so please don't worry about that. Also, do not forget to give us a like, ring the bell, and of course, subscribe. We appreciate you all, and let's get started, shall we? So this is, I feel like even if you haven't seen Disney, it's a pretty straightforward story. A mermaid in one of the oceans of life. She wants to be part of the human. She wants to know more about the human world, the world above the ocean. And a sea witch comes along and grants her wish at a price, and so on and so forth, A typical Disney movie. Very much like... actually, you know what? No, I would say almost like Beauty and the Beast, kind of, in a way, with the magic and the love and the changing.
And the evil witch, Sleeping Beauty a little bit, too.
A little bit of every Disney thing.
Yeah, it's that Disney princess trope, one of the stories, it's kind of like all of them, they all want something, they kind of get it, but in the way that, affects them negatively almost,
Exactly, yeah, no, you said that perfectly, Bern. And like I said, so this is getting all kinds of criticism because it is deemed too woke, not trying to get political about it, but it stars Halle Bailey, like I said, as the main character, Ariel. Javier Bardem is her father, King Triton. Ursula is the sea witch, Ursula. And yeah, I said that right.
Melissa McCarthy is the sea witch.
Did I say that, or did I say Ursula is Ursula? Yeah.
So Ursula is Ursula, which is also true. There's nothing wrong in that statement.
I'm all over the place. I'm tired. But anyways. And Daveed Diggs is one of the most iconic talking animals. Sebastian the crab. Yeah. Timothy.
And Jacob Tremblay also. He's Jacob Tremblay. Yeah, but Flounder. There you go. That's his name. I was thinking Scuttle, but no, that's Awkwafina.
I was gonna say Timothy Chalamet. I'm like, no, that can't be right. So I'm glad I didn't say that.
It's the other skinny white boy.
Yeah, but I would definitely say Timothy Chalamet is a little more older and talented. But Jacob Tremblay hasn't truly I don't know actually if he's been... it doesn't matter. We'll talk about that.
Still young.
Yeah, he's still very young. But, and here's the thing with the movie. I grew up... I didn't really watch The Little Mermaid. I remember I had the VHS at one point, but that was not one of my Disney movies to go to. I had Aladdin, Lion King. What's another good Disney movie? I did love Beauty and the Beast growing up, just because I love the songs in that. Still one of my favorite ones of all time. Sleeping Beauty I kind of watched here and there just because I love the dragon and stuff like that. Snow White I don't remember. But needless to say, this is just not one I grew up with, so I don't know if that takes a factor into my review of this. But overall I thought it was okay. I just don't think it's my cup of tea. I definitely feel like, if I had a daughter or a special lady in my life or something, I would definitely probably want them to watch it. I feel like it's just a little more tailored to them. But... it was but even though I was like, it's not my cup of tea, there are some good things about this. First off, Halle Bailey, holy shit, that woman can sing. Wow. Yeah. I like I was telling you, my favorite part was just the first song of what was that song? What's the lyric?
Part of Your World.
Part of Your World. Yeah, she was holding those notes it was making my ears ring. I was like, oh, this is crazy cool. You don't hear that a lot, especially even now in Disney movies. There's just not. Given mostly animated, so maybe you don't think about it as much, but I was like, no, she's up there, especially with Idina Menzel from Frozen and stuff like that. So I loved her as that. Daveed Diggs and Awkwafina as Sebastian and Scuttle were one of the most joyful things to watch. I love seeing them do all their shenanigans and be themselves. So that was great. It's just their antics are just hilarious. But
they are pretty funny.
But other than that, actually, you know what? What I did like about this, I don't know if it was you, Bern, but I definitely got some Pirates of the Caribbean vibes with, the above land scenes and stuff. So that's, I think, kind of what I liked, and I wouldn't be surprised if they had some hints of trying to use that kind of flair with this movie. But
yeah, I mean, I did definitely get that vibe too. And when I looked up the director, he actually directed on Stranger Tides, I believe is what it's called.
Okay, I like Stranger Tides.
So there's a little bit of that, Pirates of the Caribbean fare with Prince Eric and his story, and them being on the ship. Yeah, I totally got those vibes too. So I'm glad you pointed that out because I would have forgotten.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it blended well. I think it added a little bit more edge to this story. And whereas it ranks as live action Disney remakes, in the middle. Is it as good as Cinderella or Jungle Book or even what's the other good remake? I'm trying to think in my mind.
Cruella? Did you
yes.
Cruella?
Cruella, yeah. Besides Cinderella, Cruella, and Jungle Book, it's definitely better than Lion King and Beauty and the Beast. Actually, Beauty and the Beast is kind of close to it because I did appreciate some of the direction. I kind of rewatched that movie, to be honest, but it just was okay for me. What did you think about this movie overall, Bern?
I mean, yeah, I pretty much agree. It kind of ranks in like the middle of the pack, like with the Beauty of the Beast and like Mulan's. Like, it's not horrible, it's not like the worst thing in the world. Like, I don't think it does anything to sort of tarnish the legacy of the original animated movie. As a matter of fact, I think it does a good amount to like not like really like go against it. Like, I think in terms of like adaptation, like this one's pretty faithful on like most parts. With the general storyline and almost shot for shot at certain points, outside of the things that they do take liberties with, which I also did kind of enjoy too, in particular what they do with Prince Eric's character. They really expand on him a little bit more to make him more of a character and not just like, oh, this guy's a prince and our main heroine needs to fall in love with him by the end of the movie. Like, a lot of those old Disney movies are pretty much like that. Very simple, very like, you have this person, they're going to fall in love with that person by the end of the movie. With here, they give it a little bit more development, which I do enjoy. Yeah, man, as you mentioned, Halle Bailey has an incredible singing voice. Very much like she sort of reminds me, and I mean this like in a complimentary way, in case anyone doesn't like this particular person for whatever reason. But Halle Bailey really reminds me of her, like sort of like an Ariana Grande, like a very small person with just like a gigantic voice. Because just like you, man, when she hits those notes in that song, and in the other songs that she sings in the movie, it's just like, man, like I can't believe like that voice is coming out of this person. Like, this is just so great. Like, it just takes you off guard. And even from the previews I remember watching, it's just like, wow, like this, like if this movie sucks, it's not going to be because of her. And it definitely isn't that. That's not the case. What were you wanting to say there?
I just wanted to say, why don't you go mind your own business, you old fuck? Just because of the,
oh my God.
She was in Don't Look Up. So that's all every time I think of Ariana Grande, that's all I think of from that. But no, yeah, I could see that. I mean, I've never really seen Halle Bailey too much outside of the movie, so I didn't really consider that.
I'm unfamiliar with her work.
But yeah, I guess now that I really think about it, yeah, but for being such a small person, it's like, yeah, she had quite the voice, and that's the best aspect of it. So she's good,
and it works perfectly for this character. So yeah, I think in terms of like, is she a good Ariel? Absolutely, I think she's a really good Ariel. Melissa McCarthy as Ursula was a little bit hit and miss. Like it is a little bit one of those aspects of stunt casting, where I feel like in moments it does work and in other moments it doesn't. I think in particular her big singing scene, it happened a lot in the movie, and I don't know if it's something you noticed too, but there was, I mean, obviously these people aren't like singing like on camera, like they're not like singing like as they're shooting, so it's done after the fact, so they have to lip sync a lot. And with a lot of Melissa McCarthy's like song, with her big number, I can tell like, yeah, like this is a very lip sync thing, and I think a lot of the CGI in this movie really let it down as well, like with that sequence and a lot of other sequences in the movie. And it seems like a style that Disney like in the live action remakes and in their other projects as well that I'm not really vibing with what they're doing is like they're going for a very like realistic look, and that was one of my biggest issues with Wakanda Forever with the Talokan scenes is like they really go for that realistic underwater look, and then the way it works in this movie is very much like a hybrid between that and Aquaman. We have characters talking underwater, and I don't mind that aspect of it, but the realistic aspect of it I didn't really jive with because there were a lot of moments, and I don't know if you had this issue as well, but the movie was just kind of hard to look at. Like a lot of the underwater scenes were very murky, very dark, very just uninteresting to look at, with the exception of a few sequences, in particular the under the sea sequence I thought was very visually stimulating. But everything else, I was just like, I don't really like the look of this underwater world, and I didn't really like the look of the surface world either. You're supposed to want the surface world to look extravagant and beautiful, to see it through Ariel's eyes, her being infatuated with humans and their lives and like what they do on the surface. But here it's just kind of ugly, and I don't know if that was an issue for you as well, but for me I was like there wasn't any parts of this movie that really like took my breath away, or I thought, oh, that looks really pretty. I was like, nah, this just kind of looks whatever, and that was a little bit disappointing, especially for this story.
So I didn't notice the lip syncing first, just being honest with you. I didn't. I mean, maybe if I saw it again, I'll probably pick up on it. But visually, it was just all over the place. That's why I think the beginning, the intro, just like from the first trailer and stuff, I thought that looked pretty cool. That looked good. Mm-hmm. But as the movie went on, you could definitely tell when the CGI was just not there. And I mean, not only is there a writer's strike, but I could see why even some of those like digital artists are starting to kind of get to that point in the industry where they're like, dude, we're underpaid for this shit. Why do you guys keep doing this to us? So, mm-hmm. I'm not giving that, it probably has nothing to do with it. It's more just allocating what works what. But I think with this movie, since it's almost entirely underwater, you would think you'd want that CGI to be on point the whole fucking time. And if we could do it, like you said, for movies like Wakanda Forever, Jungle Book, or even Lion King, why couldn't we do it with this one? And yeah, I do feel you on the whole Disney trying to make him almost too realistic, like adapting it. And it's like, given you don't want to just do a direct animation look for that, like I'm not saying that's what you want, but you have to find that happy medium between like, oh yeah, this is instantly recognizable as that character from the movie, versus this is also just a tweak. It is an adaptation. But yeah, some of that stuff, it just didn't jive well with me either. The surface world, I didn't really have too much of a issue with, just because they try to go for a more almost grounded idea for like Ariel and the surface world and stuff, like what she expects out of the world, so that I didn't take too much of an issue, because again, I kind of, given being an adult person, especially a man, I wouldn't mind hoping for, I was kind of hoping for more a little like edgier Little Mermaid. I think Disney should have gone the whole grim fairy tale stuff with most of these movies. They kind of did with Cinderella. They kind of did a little bit with Beauty and the Beast. I think they could have designed some stuff better. But I just feel like if you're going to go live action, you got to be willing to make more changes. And I think that's why I had so much fun with Cruella, because it was more about Cruella, but it still was very true to the animated movie, and it just added a little bit more story to her. So I think that when you take liberties like that to enhance these characters, that's when it's all for it. And they did it. I think Ariel is pretty much, I think, right out of the movie. That's kind of what I remember her as. Prince Eric, though, they definitely improved upon, you're right. Where, given we're not trying to get into it too much, but what he wanted for that world, it was very plausible. And I was like, I really respect that. That was a cool character. But, yeah, overall, I do mostly agree with you. It was just, visually, it's weird, and yeah, they did try to go for a happy medium of like, we're trying to be bright and colorful like Disney, but we're also trying to be realistic, dark and murky. It's like, I mean, you could pick your points about being dark and murky a little bit better, and then the bright stuff, I'm like, it is Disney, so it is okay to be bright and colorful for the most part. That's the whole point of Disney. It's a little bit happier of a story. So,
yeah, it's a fantasy.
Yeah, if they wanted to go the grim fairy tales, I'm like, bring on the dark and murky, because that's kind of what you want. But having said all that, Burn, just giving my ranting now, I'm definitely gonna give it I'll give it a 3 out of 5 because I do respect what they tried to do. I think it's definitely a great family movie, especially those with daughters, or if you like a good musical, especially like a Disney movie. I think this is for you. So, would I recommend it to everybody? No. Do I plan on watching it? Most likely no. But yeah, it wasn't horrible. It's just not my favorite Disney story. That's all.
For sure, yeah, and obviously everyone's mileage is going to vary depending on what they think of the original, Little Mermaid movie. If it's one of their favorites, I can imagine them coming into this and really enjoying it. And I know I've come to terms with the fact that these remakes aren't really meant for us. They're not meant for people. They're not really meant for people who are fans of the originals because it seems like they're just trying to retell the story in a different visual aspect to sort of get new fans of these stories. And that is a decision that they're making, and they're the ones that are making all the money. So I can't really say anything about that. But in terms of this movie, yeah, Halle Bailey's great. And I think if you're gonna have any reason to go watch this movie, she's got to be the top one.
Oh, absolutely.
But in terms of everything else, I don't think you're missing it. Have you seen the original? Then I don't think there's anything really here that's really pushing you to go see this in the theaters at least. I think this is probably a very good Disney Plus watch for a lot of people who are just kind of mildly interested. Like I said, the visuals on the big screen weren't really a draw, in my opinion. A lot of the songs are pretty good. The way that they adapted a lot of the the really great songs for the animated movie. I thought they did a pretty good job here. They do add a few new songs in here, and I will say I didn't like them as much as the other songs. Not that they were horrible or anything, but you can tell that a different songwriter wrote them. I think Lin-Manuel Miranda was the one who wrote a lot of the new songs, and obviously he has a very particular style, and I think the style sort of clashed with the way the original songs were, so it kind of stuck out not in the best way. So I will say that I wish they really didn't do that, but obviously if you're gonna have something new, then it's gonna be a song in this particular type of movie. But given everything, I'm probably gonna give this one a 2 out of 5. Like I said, a lot of the CGI and the visual aspects really didn't work for me. What really did though was Halle Bailey and a lot of the other actors. I thought they did a pretty good job. And like I said, if my recommendation is probably waiting until this one comes out on a Disney Plus, so you can watch it at home, just because the visuals, again, the visuals are a big part of this for me, and then it really dropped the ball in that, in my opinion, at least. So it's a hard one for me to recommend for people to go watch in the theaters and spend all that money, and in particular because it's taking all of the premium screens. I don't think this movie sort of warrants that type of viewing. I could be wrong though. I mean, everyone's got their own opinions, but in terms of mine, it's man, I really wish they could have done a little bit more on that aspect.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely Halle Bailey is the biggest piece you want to take away from. She is definitely she alone is worth the whole praise of this movie. The other actor, before we finish up, I was disappointed by Javier Bardem's character. I didn't like him as King Triton. I thought he was very underutilized. Very
underutilized, yeah.
But at the same time, maybe he just didn't know how to do it either. Just because he was great. I liked him in the last Pirates movie. At least he was kind of a fun villain in that one. And he's a good actor overall. I just don't think this is the movie for him. But for those of you who saw Little Mermaid this last weekend, what did you all think of it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you love Halle Bailey as much as we did? I'm definitely a sim for her now after that. Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Again, June is going to be a very stacked month. We got a lot of movies coming out, so I'm excited. And summer's kicking off, sort of. So, yeah, well, we look forward for you guys to joining us on this adventure this summer. And until next time, stay bodacious and keep on ranting for the both of us.
Absolutely, everybody. Be good, be safe, and as always, we'll catch y'all on the next one.